it will never be lost on me that a lot of people that are regretting their vote for Donald Trump are not regretting it because of the harm that is being inflicted upon other people. No, that's not the reason why. They are regretting it because they're feeling the effects of that harm that they thought was going to be inflicted upon other people. You see, if a lot of these people were actually looking outward and saying, damn, he's doing this to other communities, and I feel bad because I voted for this, and I feel bad because this is happening to other communities. But we know, specifically black and brown people, more specifically black people know, that if it was only impacting us, if the only harm that was being inflicted was on our community, a lot of these people that voted for Donald Trump wouldn't care, especially if they weren't feeling the effects of the harm that they voted for, that they thought was only going to impact people that were not attached to them. You see, what a lot of people need to do when it comes to what happened in this last election is a internal self-reflection within their communities. And as I've said on many occasions, this country has never really truly voted for progress. And the reason why that doesn't happen is in the very DNA of this country, that white supremacy that is at the core of this nation, where a lot of white people see progress when it comes to other groups of people that are not white as a handout. But when white people are struggling and the government is forced to do something for them, they see that as deserving. And that's something that needs to be revamped, rethought about, reimagined. Because here's the reality. White supremacy does not benefit even poor white people. Ultimately, you will become a victim of the very system that you enforce with your vote and your voices. Eventually, and even if you are a white person, eventually, what you vote for, the harm that you inflict upon other people with your vote, will ultimately come back to you, especially if you're not in a certain class or a certain tax bracket.
Good people, a very good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're watching is from. This is Awaken Africa, and I'm your host, Bayamo. So on our today's episode, I'd like us to discuss about something. I think karma has a mysterious way of working out, because right now, if you check at what is happening in the United States, in the white community and the black community, it is evident that all these communities are suffering. But the white community is suffering more than the black community. And it is not as if the black community are not suffering or they're enjoying lives. No. These are people who are always on the verge of losing everything. After every cycle of election, if their candidate has not made it, these are people who always face it rough. So, brethren, there are a compilation of videos here that I have put together. I'd like us to watch these videos to the very end because they talk about how white people are suffering not because of their government, but because they thought that these things that were meant, the suffering that was meant for black people or the black community, is happening to them right before their eyes. Ladies and gentlemen, let us jump straight to these videos. Let us watch them to the very end, and then I'll be back with my further analysis. But before that, kindly, if this is your very first time watching me, make sure that you subscribe this channel. Make sure that you like this video. Leave a comment because I like us to have the conversation going on. But right about now, guys, just jump straight to these videos and I'll be back with my commentary.
I'm just going to start asking questions. Like, for instance, one, when are we going to accept that he's trying to be a dictator? He's not hiding it. He hasn't hid it at all. And depending on how you look at it, he's doing a pretty good job. 2, when are we going to accept that he does not care about people? I saw this man get on Rachel Maddow, I think, and was saying like, oh, Trump fired the man that saved his life when he got COVID, and he still fired him. If he knew that, then it would be no, it wouldn't. He probably already knows and doesn't give a fuck. Can we stop acting like he cares? He doesn't care. Assume that he doesn't give a fuck, okay? Because that's going to be more accurate. He don't give a fuck that he saved his life. You're just setting yourself up to be disappointed at that point. When are we going to stop acting like hard evidence and logic is going to make MAGA people not MAGA anymore? They've already proven they don't give a fuck about that. We need to accept that. Share the information, but understand that until they want to understand, they're not going to. They're in a cult. That is how that works. You present the information if you want to, if you care to, and hope one day that they get it. Y'all getting upset because all this logical shit is happening, and you're like, do you see now? Do you see? No, they don't. That's the whole point. It's okay. Just keep doing your thing, but don't let it get you bent out of shape, okay? Also, when are we going to accept that there are ways in which he's very much not stupid? Like, he is not stupid in every regard, okay? There are some things he's very aware of what he's doing, and he's doing it intentionally. Like people are doing themselves a disservice by thinking every bad thing that happens is because they're stupid. Sometimes it's just because they suck. It's because they're bad people. That's it. There ain't much else to it. Also, when are we going to accept that the contest happened? Because, y'all, that was 6 months ago. Okay. And at this point, we deep in this thing. Okay. Now, if you want to have a conversation about some weird data and looking into some things, that's one thing. Even if you want to unpack the reasons behind some of the decision making we saw last year, I'll give it to you. But this whole going back and forth thing, y'all, we gotta move on, okay? It might be time to go and get therapy or talking to somebody in your community and stuff. And I don't say that in a condescending way. I'm being so serious. Because it's not going to be emotionally gratifying to come on this app. I want better for us. That's why. I would think you probably want to use your emotional energy in a different place, considering how little emotional energy a lot of us have. But I'm also making assumptions, so if it don't apply, just ignore me. But I'm just saying, there's a lot of stuff to focus on right now. That one's not gonna be rectified on this app. My last question for now: when are we gonna start talking about what we actually want things to look like for real, and rooted in reality? Okay, we have what we want in theory and what's actually possible and probable. What amendments we trying to add to the Constitution? What does the future look like? What does leadership look like? How are we recovering? Because we need to do something. Because if we don't, this is gonna happen again. And this time they're gonna have a blueprint. So
listen, if a Democrat did this shit, they would be screaming for impeachment, and you know it. If anybody other than Trump was doing this shit, they would be screaming for impeachment, and you know it. Is disobeying the Supreme Court enough for y'all to stop pushing the goalpost? All the far-right MAGA influencers on this app is disobeying a unanimous decision from the Supreme Court Enough for y'all to say, hey, maybe everybody else could have been right. What is that? Prove to the world that's watching this bullshit unfold, prove to them that he is a part of MS-13 or Tren del Agua or some violent terrorist gang and he's just committed terrible acts. Prove it. Where is the evidence? That's why due process is fucking important. Why would you come out and say, hey, we fucked up? And then when a judge orders you to have him back within, I think it was 72 hours. And then ultimately the Supreme Court says, yeah, Trump, you definitely have to go fucking get him. The Department of Justice comes back and says, oh, well, by facilitate, they mean if he makes it back here, then we'll change his immigration status, but we're not going to go get him. Y'all put him the fuck there. They're saying, oh, we don't have the power to go into a sovereign country. And then the leader, whoever the fuck was in that White House meeting today, whoever's over the El Salvadoran prison, he said, yeah, I don't have the power to do that. Or, oh, he said, I could release him in El Salvador, but then why would we release a terrorist in our own country? We came all this way when we used to be the most dangerous country. You want us to go back? Where's the due process? Why do we have world leaders snatching people up, sending them to a different fucking country, putting them in a maximum security prison that nobody leaves? And then when the highest court in the land says, go get him, you know you fucked up. He says, I can't. But if he makes it back here somehow, sure, he can come home. And you're still defending that? Are you fucking kidding me? That man has a wife and a daughter. They snatch him up, send him to El Salvador in a fucking prison. No due process, no evidence. Just call him a gang member. And then they say, oh, I know that the Supreme Court unanimously told me to go get him. And I said on camera that I respect the Supreme Court and I would follow an order from the Supreme Court. But then in real time, they're saying, oh, can't do it. It's a test. It's a test. It's a test to see what will happen if we disobey the Supreme Court. What will happen? And then they're talking about building more prisons to send U.S. citizens to. There's no way the country voted for this. There's no way. There's no way. There's no way. You want us to believe that you're only going to deport the worst of the worst criminals in America that have a citizenship here. You're only going to deport those when you literally just admitted to wrongfully deporting somebody in this whole attack on illegal immigrants thing. You want us to trust that? You just sent a fucking father and a husband to a maximum security prison, admitted to it, and are actively disobeying an order from the Supreme Court to go and get him. And then you want Americans to cheer for you when you say, yeah, we're going to build more prisons and send the worst U.S. criminals to those prisons too. Impeach that motherfucker. Impeach that motherfucker by tomorrow.
You ever just sit back and realize we're all getting robbed in broad daylight? Like, not metaphorically, I mean straight up looted, pickpocketed. While we work ourselves into early graves, billionaires sit around on super yachts Googling how to dodge taxes better. And it ain't just the usual suspects like Musk, Bezos, and Gates. And yeah, I'm talking about Trump too. That man plays broke for votes and rich for taxes. He said, I'm smart when asked why he doesn't pay his fair share. And millions of folks cheered. You know what that is? That's Stockholm Syndrome. Loving your abuser because they let you breathe. Meanwhile, we pay in blood, in labor, in overdoses, in years we'll never get back. The top 1% of this country now hoards more wealth than the entire middle class combined. In 2025, they control over $50 trillion, and they made $1.5 trillion during COVID alone while we stood in food pantry lines and begged for $1,200 checks. That ain't capitalism, that is extraction. That is war, and we are the battlefield. They got folks working 3 jobs just to afford rent on mold-infested apartments. They buy politicians like Pokemon cards. You think the system's broken? Nah, it works exactly how it's supposed to. We are the product. We are the fuel. We are the meat grinder's favorite meal. They convince poor white folks to blame immigrants. They tell black folks to pull themselves up by the bootstraps with no boots. Keep us too tired, too sick, too divided to fight back. That's the game. That's always been the game. Fred Hampton said, we're going to have to struggle. We're going to have to fight. Not just with fists, but with truth, with solidarity, with real, hard, uncomfortable organizing. You want freedom? It ain't coming from a voting booth or a billionaire's speech. It's coming from us, from union halls, from mutual aid drop-offs, from showing up when the floods hit and FEMA ghosts. They stole everything but our will to survive. And now we take it back. Not asking, not waiting, we take it.
I don't believe we're talking enough about what the Trump administration has effectively been doing. I'm sure by now everybody's seen the news cycle circulating in which Venezuelans were being arrested, detained, and then deported to an El Salvadoran prison. 60 Minutes did an investigation into this and found that nearly 75% of them had no criminal record. The government used a point system and tattoos to label people Venezuelan gang members of Tren de Agua. No proof, no evidence, no due process. Due process is a basic human right. One of the people who were sent to this El Salvadoran prison was Kilmar Abrego Garcia. He is a father of a 5-year-old kid. He's married to a United States citizen, and he was here legally. A federal judge ordered that he should be brought back to the United States. The Supreme Court upheld this decision, saying that Trump and his administration must bring this man back to the United States. Trump's administration now contends that it has no duty to return this illegally deported man to the United States. In fact, he went on to say that he could not force a sovereign nation in El Salvador to hand this man back over to us. Now, the Trump following believes that Trump can do anything. He can negotiate any deal. He is the author of the art of the deal. We know that Trump is so good that he even negotiated a deal to repatriate the Tate brothers, who were arrested on credible charges with evidence. And he was able to get them back into the United States from Romania. Also, think about this, the reality of what's going on. We're arresting people without due process, no crimes committed, and then we're selling them to a foreign nation. We're selling them to a slave labor camp. Has anybody ever studied history and saw the transatlantic slave trade in which black people were treated as subhuman, as property, sold into chattel slavery? Let's not mince words. Let's not sugarcoat this. People are being kidnapped off the streets and sold, trafficked into slavery. Human traffic. The party that claims to want to protect people from human trafficking is literally trafficking and selling innocent people into slavery. Now, I know this video will get censored because of the words that I'm using and because TikTok and Meta and all these social media apps have been working to silence the opposition voices to Trump, and they've been working to push Trump's agenda. So I can really use your help in showing some love, engage with this content, and let's see if we can get it out there because these videos are being suppressed.
So, blessed people, welcome back to the channel. My name is Bemu. BEMU. In case you new this channel, this is the kind of content that I do here every day. Right. So I came to realize that people enjoy when other people are suffering. There is a certain set or a certain group of people who enjoy to see other people suffer. And when black people were experiencing segregation, when black people were experiencing racism, when black people were the most disadvantaged set of people in the American society, they faced a lot of hardships at the expense of white people enjoying everything. White people are doing good, they were well off. So something that I must mention is when people went into the ballot and they chose the preferred candidate, white people overwhelmingly voted for Trump, and they knew that their problems were going to be solved. Or maybe they knew Trump was just someone who was bad, but because their complexion was white, just like him, they thought, you know what, these problems are not gonna befall us. We are the chosen race. We are the first race. We are the best race, right? So right now, only a few people from the white community are enjoying the fruits of electing Donald Trump. Who are these people? The few billionaires. Talk about Bezos. Talk about this Meta guy, Mark Zuckerberg. Talk about Elon Musk. And Trump himself, of course. These are the people who are enjoying or benefiting from the regime. The oligarchs are the ones enjoying. But the common citizen, the middle class citizen, is suffering, crying, languishing in poverty. Everything is crazy. People are losing their farms, people are losing their businesses, people are being laid off, businesses are not making profits, people have to close down their businesses. The tariff falls. They're affecting the people who import from China. They're affecting the people who sell to China. But the few billionaires are okay. Something which the white people never thought that it was coming to them. They only thought that these problems were going to face only the black people. So, my question is, are you going to make a choice just because you know this choice is not going to affect me? Rather, it's going to affect my enemy, the other person. Does it really make sense? No, it doesn't. And well, ladies and gentlemen, this is another chance for the white people to sit down, reflect on the problems, and see, well, we made a choice on 24th of, in 2024, November. Right now, I think it's 6 months ago, people made these choices. Is this really what we wanted as the white people? To my black brothers and sisters, I have a question to you. It's high time we start the conversation. What do we want? What do we want to achieve? How do we want things to get done? We've been crying years and years and years all over again that things are not working in our favor. But how are we going to make things run in our favor? These two communities, I know you guys are suffering. But to the white people, I'm not remorseful. I can't be sympathetic about your situation. You know, an old adage goes saying that If you make a bed, you must lie on it. And choices always have consequences. In Swahili, there is a saying that says, mambo ni kangaja, huenda yakaja. If we keep on, its in translation is, things that are born to happen always are going to happen. If you guys had already seen it that voting in Trump is going to bring us problems, then you couldn't have made that mistake. Things that are born to come, they will come. Things that are born to happen are going to happen. I don't know what you feel or you think about this video, this episode, but I'll ask you most definitely to subscribe. To comment. Just leave a reply in the comments. If this is your very first time watching me, kindly, I'm humbly requesting, subscribe to this channel. Take me to 1,000 subscribers. This is a baby channel. This is a new channel. Don't forget to like this video. Don't forget to share. Turn on post notifications because every day I post new videos and I'd like you to be the very first person to watch my content. It has been my pleasure to be your presenter for today. My name is Bemo. This is Awaken Africa. Until next time, peace out.